A very good afternoon and warm welcome to all of you from Kredai, Kerala. We have, as part of our series of webinars, Kredai Kerala has proposed a very important presentation today. In fact, the very idea was mooted by Mr. Durga Prasad Mishra, the Union Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs. Kerala, for some reason, has missed out on this. I mean, because unlike builders in the west and the north, we have never been after so much of finances. I mean, both the scale as well as there has not been much of stall projects or projects which needed this kind of funding. Now, this is a new funding created in 2019 by the Finance Ministry. And by December, the corpus has swelled to 25,000 crores. It's a great opportunity for stall projects. And this is a special window for completion and construction of affordable and mid-income housing projects. We have the lead speaker, Mr. Irfan A. Kazi. He's a CIO of Swami and SBI CAP. And this program will be moderated by none other than Mr. Shobhit Agarwal, who is the MD and CEO of Anrock Capital. This program will be coordinated by Mr. Mehboob, our very own treasurer. Mehboob, please take over.
Yeah. Thanks, Krishna. Good afternoon, everybody. At first, I would like to introduce our speaker and the moderator, Mr. Irfan A. Kazi, our lead speaker today. He is the Chief Investment Officer of Swami Funds under SBI CAPS Indias. Irfan is a veteran in real estate, private equity and real estate finance. He has been working with various organizations in last 25 years, both the national and international brands. Before joining SBI CAPS, he was with ICICI Ventures, Everstone, AIG Global, and L&T Infra Partners. He also instrumental to various fundraising in the field of real estate, hospitality, and warehousing. On behalf of Kredai Kerala, I welcome once again for this webinar. We have with us Mr. Shobhit Agarwal, MD and CEO of Anrock Capital. He is also a very veteran in the industry with 20 years experience in real estate, private equity and finance. Previously heading JLL India's capital market division. In various roles, he has been associated with real estate and he is very closely associated with Kredai also with various activities. I welcome Shobhit Agarwal also for this function once again. Kerala, of late, we are looking into the possibilities and getting into funding for these stalled projects, basically small and medium, medium and small housing projects. As far as Kerala projects, most of our projects were stalled projects mainly within 50 to 100 units projects spread across Kerala. And the balance funding requirement may be, except a few cases, mostly ranging from 5 crore to 50 crore bracket. I would like to request Irfan to stress on specific, if there is anything to be explained specifically about the minimum funding criteria, projects, etc. in the light of Kerala projects. Another specific point I want to mention, we have a lot of developers with stalled projects who currently are not incorporated, not either private limited company or LLP, either partnership or proprietorship concerns. How they can participate in these funding rounds? We can give some emphasis on that. That will be great. And another area, there are few projects where the allottees joined together by themselves, formed association. They entrusted some contractors or rope in another builder to complete the projects. And we are getting inquiries or clarifications from the this kind of projects investors, how to go about completing that projects. From the Kradai Kerala part, we are willing to associate with Swami Fund if we can collaborate some way or other to facilitate this project to take off and the investors and the home buyers get their product, which can be either through roping in another builder or bringing a contractor and doing that through a society formed by the also allottees or some other way. I request Irfan to deal on that area also if there is any possibility in that side. We from Kerala side, we are willing to cooperate. We are willing to do whatever assistance we can give you in this area. Our endeavor is no, we want to complete all the stalled projects, whoever it's may be in Kerala, and give a confidence to the home buyers. No, there is a way out, and they can safely or they can invest in Kerala. They will get a home. We want to give some assurance to the investors that way. And another area, gray area, which we need some clarification. RERA in Kerala, we just started registration. Registration window is open up to August, and most of the projects are in the process or not yet registered. In as a minimum criteria, you need funds registered with RERA. In this case, the projects which are not registered, how can we go about that also? If you can explain, that will be also a great help. With this opening remarks, I request Mr. Shobhit Agarwal to take over and continue with the deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehboob, for the introduction. Thank you, Kradai Kerala, for organizing all of this. We both, on behalf of Irfan, I'm just sort of, and myself, we want to apologize that we could not make it on the March event where Anuj did come, but both of us were supposed to travel. March is really typically a very difficult month for people associated with financing and banking to leave their workplace, which is Bombay. So really apologize for that. What I will do, of course, Irfan and I are quite synced. This is the third or fourth webinar that we are doing together. So I'll try and keep it short because you're about 100 odd members. I'm sure there will be questions. So what I'll do is I'll try and ask a few questions so that we kind of decode Swami Fund for you guys in the next half an hour. And then at 4:45, we'll open it for Q&A. In the meanwhile, if anybody wants to type in the question, I have one eye on it, and I can take it up while talking to Irfan only, try and sort of get you the answers. So on all of your behalf, I'd like to thank Irfan. Irfan, thank you for taking out this time. You know, we've spoken before on last mile financing. It's a subject of growing interest all across the country, and they're no different. Everybody wants to solve the last mile problem, saying nobody wants to see a project that is stuck, whether it is his own or as a responsible body saying, can we ensure that this product or project is finished, and the home buyers get a relief. On that note, Irfan, I do want the first thing to be done is to explain what was the context of this fund, how it has come about, what is the basic objective from a government perspective. It is a government fund. It's the first sovereign fund in India. And what was the objective? What was the government thinking when they constituted or gave birth to this Swami Fund, which is a very peculiar name, but I'll allow you to decode it for all of us. Over to you, Irfan.
Thank you, Shobit. Good afternoon, CREDAI Kerala. Good afternoon to everybody who's taken time off their work from home routine to join us for this conversation. I think first things first, my apologies to all the organizers here, to CREDAI Kerala, for not making it the last time, and therefore, despite the fact that I have publicly on my LinkedIn website mentioned that I will not be doing webinars, I've already done too many of them. I thought it's very important that I should do this. One, basically to apologize, and two, to also try and address the fact that was mentioned in the opening remarks. We are seeing very few projects from Kerala, and I think that's to Kerala's disadvantage. It's a great opportunity to complete stalled projects, and I'll just give you a background on that. But first things first, we would like to see and do more projects from Kerala. So just stepping back, just in terms of an introduction, it was on November 6th that the finance minister made an announcement of a special window for affordable and mid-income housing projects. And that's how the name of this fund, we coined the name of this fund. The Swami is our private acronym for special window for affordable and mid-income housing projects. Now, when the Honorable Finance Minister made this announcement, it was very clearly stated that this is a fund for completion of affordable and mid-income projects that are currently stalled. And there were, as part of this special window, a list of maybe 4 or 5 parameters were established, and it is only projects that meet those parameters get filtered in and can be considered for funding. So I'll just take you very quickly through each of those parameters. First, the most obvious thing, it is for completion of stalled projects only. It is not for greenfield projects, and it is not just for stalled projects. So it is also for projects that are likely to be stalled. And when do you say a project is likely to be stalled? When funding is either already being denied, funding is not available, and therefore you require funding from another source. And when I say funding is not available, that could be because sales have not taken off, and therefore funding from customers is not there. 2, it could be the existing lenders are not willing to increase the sanctioned limits or not disburse the sanctioned limits, and therefore funding is not there. So it is for projects that are either stalled or likely to be stalled. So that's one. It is for affordable and mid-income housing projects only. And we've chosen to define what the term affordable and mid-income housing means. So we've used both a price and a size criteria. So as long as a project is less than 200 square meters of RERA carpet area, and that's a huge area, right? As long as a project is less than 200 square meters and is priced at less than 2 crores in Mumbai, 1.5 crores in the major cities, and 1 crore in the rest of India, including Kerala, that project will classify as an affordable and mid-income housing project. So, so the units, at least 90% of the units should meet this criteria. The third thing is, I touched upon it very briefly, that this is not for greenfield projects. It is for brownfield projects, which is projects which are at least 30% complete. And when we measure completeness, we've chosen an objective criteria of cost of the project as an indicator of how much the project has progressed. So as long as 30% of the total cost has been incurred, whether it has been incurred on land or construction or approvals, the project is said to be a a brownfield project, and we can fund it. Our funding is last mile funding, and while it's probably the first time that that in India we are getting a fund which very clearly makes it a mandate to be that of a last mile funder. And what is a last mile funder? A financing agency that promises to provide all the financing that is required to complete the project. So when we step in, we step in with the assurance that the amount we are making available will be more than enough actually to complete the project, and we will not be reliant on incremental sales. We will not be reliant on receivables coming in to a very large extent, and therefore, even if there are no sales in the project in the in the first couple of years, even if receivables are tough to come by because there is a general customer antipathy for paying up when it comes to a stalled project, we are willing to cover that funding gap. So our funding will be enough to complete the project, regardless of the environment the project is getting constructed in. So that's the assurance that we come in with. So that's last mile funding. It is also priority funding. Last mile funding, in fact, always is priority funding. And by priority funding, we mean that when we come in, we are senior in the capital structure. We are senior to existing debt. We take a senior charge and a first charge on all the security and the cash flows. However, we do, so that the existing lenders get some cash flows during the tenure of the construction. We also provide that maybe up to 10-20% of cash inflows that come in from receivables as well as from inventory sales will go to the existing lender. While 10-20% might sound like a low number initially, you'll appreciate the fact that what I'm actually saying is that 80-90% of cash inflows from the project will, from sales as well as from receivables, will in fact be plowed back towards construction of the project. They will not come to us. So the only people receiving any interim cash flow will be the existing lenders who will get some portion of the inflows that come in from sales. Finally, what was also mentioned is our funding is for RERA registered projects only. That is one criteria that was kept as part of the mandate of the fund. And to address what was said in the opening remarks, we can look at projects which are not RERA registered right now. We will start looking at them. We'll start doing the diligence, etc. In the with the understanding that at the same time the project will apply for RERA registration, so that by the time our diligence is through, by the time our process is completed, the project also gets RERA registration. But before our funding starts, the project needs to have RERA registration. So that in a it's hardly a nutshell, but that in a shortened version is the mandate and the brief of this fund.
Thank you, Irfan, for very crisply putting this, but I'll just sort of summarize it just so that everybody understands it once again, that this is for projects that have started construction, have spent about 30% of the money that has to be spent on construction has been spent on it. You've RERA registered your project, you've started sales, right? There may or may not be a senior lender, but most likely there will be, who will have to cede a charge towards Swami Fund when Swami Fund comes in, right? Swami's mandate is to ensure that once they come in, it's like a guarantee that the project will be finished right up to the formation of the society, and no money other than for construction can be taken out. It's fully monitored. There are SOPs in place how they will do it, but this will ensure that the customer who's bought that apartment before it was stuck gets the roof on his head as soon as Swami Fund touches this. The whole genesis of this fund was the fact that I think they did a study close to about 1,600 projects with over 450,000 customers who are waiting for the projects to get done. And I don't want to name the project. Some of us know Largely the problem was in Delhi-based projects, which was stuck for so long, and some of the aging of the stuck project. That means they've been stuck for 4 years. Forget when they started. They've been stuck for 4 years, 5 years. And so the government said, look, this is not fair. Let us step up. They decided to announce this fund. And I can tell you, in my history in 20 years, we have never seen a fund from announcement to deployment in less than 4 months, which is what Swami Fund did. Fund did not talk about it. They started on 7th November was the announcement. And on 1st Feb, which was the day of the budget, they had done their first disbursement. And they're now capitalized to over 12,000 crores in cash. And they can go up to another 12,000, 13,000 to go up to 25. Money is not really the constraint, right? So they have enough money to continue doing this. But because it is the government, naturally they want to focus on the bottom of the pyramid, which is affordable to mid-income. If you're doing luxury project and you get stuck, probably Swami is not for you. We have other options for that. Very
Shobhit,
quick.
can I just?
Yeah,
Shobhit,
please. I was just going to bring you in. Yeah, please.
Just, can I add to what you said, right? So some of the things that were mentioned in also the opening remarks was one, and what you mentioned. So we had done a market study. We found that the majority of the stalled projects are in NCR and MMR, but that's besides the point. The fund is for projects all over the country. So while 85% of, as per our market study, 85% of the stalled projects are in the larger cities, there is still a large number of projects which are across, other tier 2, tier 3 cities and so on. And what makes this fund different is the fact that one, it does not have a geographical focus. We will not say no to a deal. We will not say no to a deal just because it is not in one of the larger cities of India, like some other real estate funds do, because they are constrained by their mandate. We are not. In fact, the mandate is that broad. The other bit, which was also brought up in the opening remarks, which I thought I'll explain, is the fund can provide funding up to 400 crores. Notice the choice of words, right? There is no lower limit specified. So we can do funding from, as much as low as 5 crores to 400 crores. And even that lower benchmark of 5 crores is simply because there is a cost to this funding in terms of diligence cost, the various due diligence that we do. And that generally comes out to maybe 25-30 lakhs, depending on where the project is, the scale of the project, etc. So if that is the cost, it doesn't make sense it doesn't make strict financial sense to use that funding for where the total funding requirement is less than 5 crores. So that's the only way we've arrived at a minimum. So we can look at small projects. We do not have a sweet spot. Anywhere between 5 crores to, the developer limit is 800 crores and project limit is 400 crores. So anywhere between 5 and 800, depending on what the project actually requires, so that it is independent of and not dependent on any other source of funding to complete the project, will be made available from market.
Irfan, 2-3 quick questions. One, of course, you've answered saying you have no minimum size. 5 crores you think is only a logical construct, saying if you're going to spend 50 lakhs on diligence, then I'm hoping you'll borrow 5 crores. Otherwise, as a proportion of that fund, it's a lot of investment that has gone in just trying to secure the money. The other thing that people are obviously asking, and in all other forums and all other monies that we talk about interest rates of 18 to 21%.
Yeah.
That's the cost of funds that are available publicly. These are other special situation funds that are in the market. How is Swami Fund different from this, right? Is it at 18 to 21%?
So we are different both in terms of absolute cost as well as how we look at the funding to be repaid. And I think the second is more important than the first. So allow me to explain the second first. We do not provide funding with any kind of coupon rate. We provide funding in the form of NCDs. Those NCDs have an IRR that accrues. Those NCDs are payable only when the construction is complete. So, to start with, we are not expecting to get any cash flows back while the project is being constructed, all cash flows will be plowed back into construction. So the focus for everybody is very clear to complete the project. So that's about the nature of the funding. The other is the cost of the funding. So our funding will come at anywhere between 14 to 15%. And just for a minute to explain that, the default rate is 15%. So it's a 15% IRR. However, we agree with a progress plan and a business plan with the developer when we do the funding. And as long as the developer meets the targets mentioned in that development plan, the funding gets reset to 14%. So if the developer and the project is going along the pre-planned stages of progress in both in terms of physical progress and timeline, the cost of the funding to the developer will be 14%. If for any quarter there is a delay, then the funding becomes 15%, but that's about it. That's the only variation.
You know, Irfan, I can tell you there is no other fund that is available in the market which says 14 to 15% on stuck projects, which is completely back-ended payment, saying you first, Mr. Developer, finish the project, all the money has to go in. And by the way, once you finish the project, only then you start paying me my interest and my principal back. It's a very, very sort of, in my view, very focused and very unique in what it is offering. I have one other question, Irfan. I think, you know, I know lots of questions will start rolling in. How do you, once a project comes to you and you decide to fund it, what is the modus operandi? Do you monitor it on a weekly basis, monthly basis? How does the drawdown happen? Is the drawdown request very stringent? Does it take you 15 days to give the money? What's the process so that once they have got a yes from you, what happens after that?
So the entire operations after we approve a project are designed in such a way that we have absolute control over the spend in the project. So we will appoint project management companies who will be our representatives on the ground, who will provide us intelligence and feedback on the scale of progress, scope of progress, on time, on labor and material that is used at the site. And accordingly, we will make payments that the developer raises, invoices or bills that the developers that is raised on the developer after they are checked by that project management company. We will make funding available to the developer before that funding is actually required. So, you know, there is no time gap between, I am doing, the project is progressing, but funding is not available. In fact, what we've told our companies is funding will be available at the beginning of every quarter for that quarter, right? And
so you're saying that you can actually negotiate better rates with your contractors because you can pay them simultaneously and there's no lag on payments, zero lag.
So money is not a constraint. What you pay the developer is what you negotiate.
Yeah. But because there's zero lag in payment, you know, you can get better rates from everybody.
So it's not just zero lag in payments because the entire money is available upfront if required. There is, you know, to the extent that construction can happen on simultaneous fronts, right? If there are 3 towers and construction can commence simultaneously on all 3 towers. Construction can commence on the boundary walls, on infrastructure, and so on. What used to happen, what generally happens when a project is funded, either by the developer himself or through term loans that he's taken, is funding usually happens sequentially. We are interested in completing the project at the fastest rate possible, and therefore, if spend can happen on 3-4 different fronts at the same time, we are willing to finance that.
Thank you, Irfan. One other question I think people want to know is what happens. There are 2 questions that are coming repeatedly. What happens to senior lenders? Will they agree? Will they not agree? Have you had some experience there? And second, what happens to people who've taken home loans? Are their rights by any chance sub judice to yours, or they're not affected at all? That's number 2. And the last question is, and I think Mehboob ji alluded to it, saying if you're trying to help a developer finish it and there is a development management fee that they're going to charge, the new developer is going to charge, is it going to form part of your expense, right? Will you allow that? Will you allow that to be included as construction cost for the project?
So I'll answer your last question first, and you need to remind me of your other two questions.
I will.
Right. So
Yeah.
if there's another developer that is taking over the project and there is a development management fee, most of the development management fee will be considered as part of the project cost and will be funded by us. Some portion of the development management fee might be made junior to our repayment, so that it gets paid only after we exit the project.
So
But
you're really saying that if it is a cost, you cover the cost of the new developer, but not his profits.
Yes.
So
yes,
we are all
exactly.
focused on completing the project, and whatever cost is incurred, head office, site cost, will all be reimbursed, but not your profit.
Profits are available for distribution only after the project is complete.
Project is complete. Second,
so that everybody has skin in the game.
Absolutely. What happens to the rights of the home buyers, especially if they've taken home loans? Are they affected by any way?
So no, we are not this. It is only in a very, very small minority of projects where there is already a significantly agitated homebuyer community, where there are significant RERA actions pending. We will step in and also ask for reassurances from the home buyer. See, understand this, when we get in and we say we are funding a project and we are going to complete the project, we are completing the construction cost of the project. If at the same time there are significant RERA penalties that come in, we do not have the funds to provide for that. If we divert the funds and for RERA penalties, then we will not be able to complete the project, right? And therefore, a small number of home buyers might get benefited. A large number of home buyers will be, will stay in trouble in the stalled project. It's only in those cases that when we come in, we will also ask the customers for their consent to allow us to do the funding. And their consent effectively means that they agree to a change in the completion date of the project, not developer, completion date of the project, so that the funding can be used for construction only and not for repayment of liabilities. Now, it's entirely a customer choice, right? And we leave it to the customer to decide that.
Yeah, but in general, you're not taking away their right. You're only requesting them to change the date, which is the new RERA date anyway.
We are requesting for forbearance, just a period of tranquility, if I may use that word, so that we can quietly complete the project. Absolutely.
One other thing that's been asked is that if we are anyway stuck and we are the project is struggling for money, you had mentioned that your diligence cost is between 30 to 35 lakhs or thereabouts. Do you include this in the construction cost that you are talking about, or does the developer need to pay 35 lakhs and then you reimburse it? So what's the possibility?
So we consider that as part of project cost, and that will be reimbursed from the first disbursement.
Again, guys, I'm telling you, I've done a lot of financing. This is never done. This is very unique from Swami Fund, saying they consider all going forward costs, which includes the diligence cost. It's very, very rare. They allow for a change of developer, and to the extent that new developers incurring cost, they allow you to do it. They allow you to take the money, but not the profit to the new developer. One interesting point, I think in Kerala, there are a lot of JVs and JDs that happen. And in many cases, the land is not fully paid up because the landowner's JV ratio or money, etc., is not paid. What happens to that situation? Does it get included in the project finance?
So we look at all land payments also as part of the project cost. We will in fact try to complete the land payments first, so that our mortgage gets more clearly established. And that's that. In some cases, in a JDA, we will insist on a senior charge even on the landowner's share, but that is only if where you are looking at the balance residual portion of the developer share, and that isn't enough to complete the project.
Okay. So I think, Irfan, I think we forgot to talk about this. Who will qualify? We did not talk about how to qualify the
Yeah.
projects, which is the positive net worth clause, which is probably the first in the hierarchy. Maybe we should have taken it first, but it's okay to speak about it now. So apart from RERA registration, construction started, 30% money spent, and home buyers, of course. There is one more condition, which is very important, and I'll let Irfan talk about it.
So we will fund only net worth positive projects where it is, essentially it means it's profitable to fund them, where the cost of completion of the project, we are not talking of historical cost at all, should be greater than should be less than the inventory and the sold receivables in the project. So only the cash inflows in the project are greater than the cost of completion, that the project is profitable, we will fund it.
And unlike other banks, they include the cost in the cost. They include the interest cost. So it's not that. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
We do not include interest cost of the underlying debt. We only ensure that there is sufficient to repay the priority funding. But these are, that doesn't mean that the underlying debt is not getting repaid. I mean, don't interpret it that way. In most cases, when we exit the project, there is enough left for the underlying lender. Whether that enough is left to completely repay or not depends on, is different on a deal by deal basis.
Correct. So land cost is included. All your diligence cost is included, all going forward construction cost, some amount of RERA liability. If it is very minuscule, if it's very large, you have to ask for NOCs and defer that liability towards the completion of the project. And the sold and receivables from sold and the value of unsold receivables should be greater than the project going forward cost, including interest on the priority money. And by the way, the cost is only 15%. And if you meet your construction plan going forward, it comes down to 14%.
So I think
this is quarterly reset, right?
Yeah. So I think you should understand it as the cost is 14%, because it will be 14% if the developer meets the kind of targets that he agrees to with the Swami fund. So those are, a plan that is offered by the developer, and with very little fine tuning, we accept that plan. And therefore, as long as the developer is able to meet that the plan targets, the cost of the funding is 14%.
Super, guys. I think we have spoken a lot. I'm going to open it for general conversation with only one question to go. Irfan, if you can just tell us a little bit about what's the status on deployment, how many deals have you looked at, how many deals have you done, and what's the general time frame for doing these, for evaluating these deals? Does it take 15 days? Does it take 30 days? What happens?
So the general time frame depends on the quality of information that we get. We are also dependent on two externalities, right? One is an NOC from the lenders, and two is the due diligence process. Sorry, three external things. One is the due diligence process, two is NOC from the lenders, and three is any CPs that are there before funding can start. Depending on how they play out, we have seen, at least for the deals that we've cleared through our IC so far, the timeline is about 35 to 45 days.
35 to 45 days.
Yeah. Now, in terms of where we are and how many deals we've seen so far, the fund we have a two-stage approval process. Stage one, where we do a preliminary approval, then we have the external due diligence, and then we do final approvals followed by documentation and disbursement. So our work, Shobit, is limited to getting a final approval, right? That final approval can say that if there is an environmental clearance pending, funding will start only after the environmental clearance is obtained.
Okay.
I'm especially mentioning that because that is a critical approval that is required for projects. Any expenditure before, while that approval is not in place, is almost illegal. So our job is not to get the environmental approval. In fact, but even as I said that, I am suddenly reminded of the fact that we will in fact help the developer get it. So we will, because our sponsor is the Government of India, we will help them get the environmental clearance faster than they would otherwise have got. But key approvals have to be in place before our funding comes in. So we have got approvals. We have got approvals for about 50 projects so far. We've got final approval for about 8 projects. If you look at all the 50 projects, of which about 42 are undergoing due diligence right now, if all of them meet the criteria, go on to funding, and it's extremely unlikely that that would happen because, some deals generally fall through in the diligence process. We would have provided a solution to complete about 40,000 home units. Right now, we have completed 8 projects where our funding is sufficient to provide 7,000 home units. So that's where we are right now. What this clearly establishes is we are way beyond the, within a period of 3 to 4 months, we are way beyond it being just a policy initiative. It is a actively operating shop on the ground, and one where, which has achieved in 3 to 4 months what most private equity funds would take a few years to do so.
Thank you, Irfan. I'm going to open this.
No,
and pass this back to
Shobit,
Mehboob.
before you open up, one question from me.
Sure.
Yeah,
See, December, so much of water flown down the river everywhere between December and today. And with the repo having changed, the LIBOR is between 0 to 1. I don't hear you talking of any reduction in interest rates.
So we started off with saying that
You have some banks have so much of funds now. All banks are flush with funds.
So go ahead, Irfan. I'm going to add after you, but you go ahead first.
So we started off by saying that our funding is at 15%. We've now reduced it to 14%. What is clearly not important is the fact that it's 15 or 14%. What is important is the fact that there is no coupon in this funding. None of the developers' money or cash flow in the project is going to be diverted towards repayment of a lender, including us. All the money will be focused on construction. And honestly, that is far more important than the fact that it's 14% or 15%. 2, we have, there is a reason why we chose, to do funding at 14% or at 14% now. And that is that this should be, this fund has a mandate of having a social impact. It should also have the ability of drawing more capital to provide an even greater social impact in the future. And therefore, the rate is such that it should be able to attract some investors, at least, domestic investors, if not foreign investors, at least the nationalized banking group into the project, and therefore give them returns while creating an impact on society. Shobit will compare it to foreign funds.
Yeah, I'll compare it to foreign funds. But before I compare it to foreign funds, I do want to address all the members that, look, this fund is not to be compared with banks. If your bank is willing to give you funding, please go and take it from them. This is for projects that are stuck. There is no money in those projects. Nobody wants to fund it. The only alternative is to go to foreign funds, which I mentioned are between 18 to 21%. And therefore, the Government of India through Swami Fund has come and said, we will provide you relief. A, we will guarantee that the project is finished. B, there is no coupon on that money, right? So you will accrue it. When the project finishes, I'll collect it, no problems. And by the way, it's only 14-15. For most of you, according to me, the construction cost itself on a regular project is between 11 and 13%. I have seen very few projects in which the interest rate is below 11 to 13%, and that is either monthly repayment or quarterly repayment. This is saying I will pay whenever I get the money. There is no default, right? You finish the project, sales happen, when collection happens, you pay the interest, right? There is no default there. The only default is if you don't finish the project, right? For that there's money. One question has come from one of the members saying, can you combine a few projects? Because in Kerala, some of these projects can be small. Total requirement is between, say, 5 to 10 crores. Can I club two projects, both having RERA registration? Can I club them?
You can definitely club projects. The only requirement is that if there are lenders in each of the projects, the lenders should be, the lenders should be the same, or there should be no lenders in the project. If that criteria is met, then you can combine more than two projects also.
Yeah, I think what Irfan mentioned is that his limit is 400 crores per project and 800 crores per developer. So in case you want to combine 5 projects and draw 800 crores, he'll be very happy to do it. I think there is no ceiling on minimum money or number of projects. I think the whole intent is to provide relief to the home buyer who's stuck on a project which is not finishing construction. So this is very, very different to the usual funds. There's only one of this type in India. We have not even seen it in other countries, measures like this. I think it's been very, very unique working with Irfan, the speed at which they do it, the clarity that they have on saying this is the mandate, guys, and if you fit it, I will give you money. There is no problem at all, right? And Irfan said it very, very quietly, but they are the government's money. So if you need help in getting environmental approval, you need help in getting RERA registration done, you need help in getting lenders NOC, especially if it's a public sector bank, they can help you. Not that they will muscle anybody, but because they're all government offices, they can reach out and ask for that particular relief to be provided to you. Right.
In fact, Shobhit, can I just clarify? Every bank in India now has a nodal officer who specifically handles the Swami Fund. And what we are going to do, what I'll do maybe today or tomorrow, is have a list of those nodal officers put up on our website. So customers can also approach those nodal officers directly or indirectly.
Which basically means that if the project is stuck and I have, let's assume BOB funding, there will be a nodal officer at BOB saying, I'm not.
Who understands the Swami Fund, because we have spent a lot of time with him to explain how the funding is provided, etc. And therefore he can act as a conduit for reaching out to us.
And this is only on public sectors, of course. I'm assuming this is not for private sector banks.
Like right now it's only for
public sector. Yeah. So everything that sort of government controls is they're putting. This is a new. The guys, last time I did this call was about 10 days ago, and I remember the numbers that Irfan said is only 36 projects with only 6 approved. Today I heard it's 50 projects with over 10 approved. So really, in less than 10 days, this has moved. They have an incredibly high quality IC that also guides them. These are seasoned professionals who look at it, lawyers, experienced real estate professionals. So it is from a governance perspective, the highest quality governance that you can get, right? And it moves at the speed of private sector. It is not moving at a speed of a usual public sector bank. So guys, this is for real. If in your state or your colleagues or your friends have stuck projects, please refer it to Irfan. You can do it through website. You can do it. I mean, he's available to all of you anyways. So now I think about 100 people have met him. So please reach out to him directly. No problems at all. Mehboob, you want to take a few questions if there's anybody?
Yeah, few questions, yeah. Anthony, can you start?
About 5-7 minutes we've got, so we can.
Okay, this year, see, like suppose I've got a lender. I got a lender, and how about his interest? Because I'm not paying him for the next 3 years, right?
Yeah.
How his interest, has it been factored? We got to pay him also. You can't say I won't pay you unless it is completed. Will you wait for that to be completed? And how about the interest? Who is going to take care of his interest?
So two things here, right? When we step in and complete a fund, what would happen if we did not step in? The lender is not willing to provide any funds. The project is going to be stalled, and the project is only will only deteriorate and reach and bottom out at some point in time in terms of value. So what we are doing is we are changing that reality. We are stepping in and saying that we will complete your project, and there is no one who can say, that's a bad development, right? That's an extremely positive development. It just might be from an accounting point of view. It therefore requires the developer to create more provisions. Sorry, the lender,
Yeah.
the banks to create more provisions. And, because of the fact that the debt is now getting restructured, but look at how the reality has improved. So that's one. Two, we are looking at projects which are even NPAs, or projects for which banks have already made significant provisions already in their accounts. So we can look at those projects as well. And three, what we are also saying is, if there are enough cash flows in the project, we will share some portion of the cash flows, maybe 10-20% of the inflows, with the existing lender, whether it's a bank or a NBFC, so that they get some cash flows during the construction period as well. So the options are, one, to let the project be completed and get some cash flows during that period, or two, to take the project maybe to NCLT or do some kind of a fire sale, right? And that is usually a destruction of value, which I'm sure you'll agree.
Sir, just to answer your question, it's good to see you after a long time. Just to answer this question, right? Please understand that if you could get financing, whether it is top-up financing or refinancing or last mile financing from somewhere, or even sales of the project, please go and do that. This is meant for people who've exhausted their option. So when you've exhausted the option, what is the option with the current lender? Either he takes you legally to NCLT or insolvency, or he allows Swami to step in, ensure that the project finishes. If it finishes, it will sell. Hopefully Swami will get out, and whatever is the balance money left will go towards the recovery of the current lender. Otherwise, there is no recovery. These projects have been stuck for three years. In Delhi, projects have been stuck for 6 years. They've taken 4 years to build. They've been stuck for 6 years. Naturally, the current lender has already provided has already provided his books. So if it's an NPA, it's even easier, right? But in many cases, especially with public sector bank, there is a very strong collaboration now that's happening with Swami Fund. They're saying, fine, if we understand what Swami means, and if Swami is coming in, we are happy to give our NOC. That's happening at a government to government level. You don't even have to initiate it, right? So there's a huge help that's coming in from the government.
Right.
Public sector banks, private sector banks may still resist it. NBFCs may still resist it, but at least public sector banks understand it 100%. Full cooperation.
Yeah, I think Sedu, Najib wants to ask a question. Please open.
Hi, Shobit. How are you?
All well. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Najib?
Irfan, a couple of questions. One is this positive network that you mentioned for projects. What is the percentage, what is the positivity required in terms of value when you say you complete cost of completion, inventory versus inventory and sold receivables? So what is the valuation of the unsold inventory would be done, and what if that is cost of completion is less? What is the percentage? Is there a threshold?
No, there is no threshold. We just try and make a very, very conservative assumption on the unsold inventory, on what it should be priced at, and when those sales will occur, right?
Okay. When the sales will occur.
So and we generally back end the sales so that we assume that the sales will happen only after most of the project, if not the entire project, is completed.
Okay.
In terms of
who's responsible for the sale?
Sorry, who's responsible for
the sales for the unsold inventory?
The developer is definitely responsible
to get the cash flow coming in from the unsold inventory.
Yeah.
Another situation where it's fully sold out but still stuck. That means this inventory is not there to be sold. Unsold sold receivables alone are there, and that would probably amount to the positive net worth in the project. And the project, for some reason, being stuck. And so how is this structured? With all
it doesn't matter. Even if the project is, and we've already seen quite a few cases where there is, project is 98% sold or almost 100% sold, and there is a large amount of receivables to come from at the time of possession, and the developer requires to complete the project so that it is available for possession, we can provide that funding.
Excellent.
How about, suppose the project is completed, but its sale is not happening. Maybe expected the sale to happen by 6 months, 1 year time, that's the projection. It's not happening for another couple of years. Then what's the question of the, how do you accept?
Sorry. There was this, what is not happening?
If the sale is not happening,
Yeah.
the question is, supposing the sale doesn't happen at the required price point. to get the-
And suppose for some reason like COVID or sometimes market is pretty bad and it doesn't happen for next couple of years, then how do you exit? What is the option for the Swami, then the lender and the builder?
So see, we start off with very, very conservative assumptions. Most of the time when the developer comes to us and says it will take about 9 months to construct, we build in a time of maybe 18 months. When the developer tells us that sales will start as soon as people come to know Swami is funding, we say that's a good thing to happen. But in terms of providing for finance, we will assume that sales will not happen till the project is completed. We will assume that customers will delay on payment, and even if the developer tells us that the delay is 3 months, we'll assume it takes 1 to 2 years to get the money from the customers. And in spite of that, we will try to this. And in most cases, because the project is about 30% plus completed, let's say it will take 2 years or so to complete the project, and then we'll provide for another 3 years at least to recover money from the project. So that is a sufficient time frame for most cases.
There are cases where in today Delhi and Mumbai, a lot of unsold stock is available. That's a major issue now.
Yeah.
So that can happen to this particular project also because competition is over, everything is through, client is happy, but I've got 100 units, 200 units to be sold. Money is not coming. Then what is the option then? How do you close it?
So the nice thing about this asset class, in spite of all the difficulties that this asset class is that it is a real asset. It has a price. It will have some value and a buyer at some price point. So if the sales velocity is not happening, if the product is not selling, we will require the developer to lower the price, reset the price, do a bulk sale at a discount, which is possible in this sector more than anywhere else.
Or Anarok will come in and do the bulk sale.
Assumption is so the big assumption in all of this is if the project is finished, first and foremost, the current stuck home buyer has got a relief, right? Second, the general assumption is that if the project finished, then at some price point, this is a saleable commodity. If it is not finished, then it will not sell. What you are referring to in Bombay, largely in Bombay and NCR, are projects that are in luxury housing which are stuck. I can't think of many projects in affordable and mid-income that have finished fully and have not got sold. There may be residual inventory left, which is non-Vastu compliant, non-airy, no sunlight. That kind of inventory still remains, but mostly projects have got sold.
Shobit, I have a very important question for you. See, CREDAI Kerala, there are projects which are gone to NCLT. And where even there are cases where the builder has abandoned the projects. Okay, and the residents who bought the apartments, or rather got into the agreements, would want CREDAI to step in and complete the project. And added to that, NCLT is also prepared to give it to a builder, and CREDAI will stand as a guarantee. In such cases, what will be your take?
So
there are many cases.
Irfan, I was going to say, you take this question as not for me to answer. Go ahead.
Before both of you answer this, shall I add, a twist to this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, CREDAI Kerala being a very responsible body, we are definitely committed to our members and to each and every customer who is booked with us. It's our responsibility to see that, everyone is given their home the way they wanted it, and if possible on time itself. But it's a fact that, there are certain projects which are stuck, either like, Krishna said, either it is abandoned or, the number of cases where it is abandoned is minimal. But there could be a number of projects which are either about to be stuck or, which are stuck for the time being, and which would require, not huge amount of money like what you do in, Mumbai or, such places. The general requirement could be, anything between, 10 to 20 crores or 10 to 30 crores. Now, can CREDAI, because CREDAI is an amazing network here in Kerala, the kind of, it's an amazing body, I would say. Can we come in as a conduit, as a body, I'm saying, like he was saying, or an interface between, such projects and, Swami?
So
Some sort of a help,
Sure. The answer is yes and no. And let me just explain that. This fund was especially formed to provide funding for projects which are already NPAs with banks, to projects which are either in NCLT or are likely to go into NCLT. So while that might be might block funding for that project from just about any other funder in the country today, to us, that is par for the course. We will look at funding projects which are in NCLT or are likely to enter NCLT. The requirement that we have is that we are a fund, we are not a bank or a lending institution, and therefore we can invest in securities. Securities are issued by, debt in the form of securities is called NCDs, non-convertible debentures. So we can only subscribe to NCDs, non-convertible debentures. Now, therefore, there should be an entity that will issue those NCDs. So that's one. So if the project is, if there is a, let's say, someone referred to a partnership firm or a resident welfare association that is in charge of the project, we could help the project, but first somebody needs to form an SPV. The project needs to be moved into that SPV. The SPV needs to issue debt, and we will subscribe to that debt. Now, again, there should also be a developer. So if the developer has abandoned the project or the developer is, behind bars or whatever, there should be some other developer who has taken charge of the project. We are funders. We are not developers, right? And similarly, the home buyers are home buyers. They are not developers. So we would look at some developer to have taken charge on the project. Now, who has to complete the story? We will look at, either you doing it yourself or using an intermediary or using, some of the people on this panel to build the entire story of getting a developer, forming a company, getting the company to issue a debt, and then we'll subscribe to the debt.
Can I add, sir, and I'll probably answer your question differently. This is solution capital, okay? So if as a CREDAI body, you find that there's a project in your city which is stuck and you need to help, right? These guys will back you up, provided there's a solution that you come up with and say, Irfan, this is the solution. This project requires 20 crores, 30 crores. I'm willing to finish the project, or one of my members is going to finish it, right? We have RERA registration. We have converted the partnership into a private limited company. We'll issue the debentures. Money will not stop the project. There is enough money that Irfan has, but somebody takes the responsibility of finishing the project. He cannot fund a welfare association. Welfare association can appoint you as a developer, and once you are appointed as a developer, Irfan will step in and provide the money, right? But there has to be a guide to give you the solution, right? Money. So if in this whole problem, money was one part, Irfan can provide that money. The rest of it, somebody has to put his head to it, saying, how will we do this, right?
Jobit, may I ask a question here?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, here it's a slightly different situation. The project has been fully completed, but there are about 1/3 of the units are unsold. Payments have to be made to the contractors as well as to the landowners. Will Swami step in such a situation?
And I'm assuming that the home buyers cannot move into the project.
They've already moved, and the project is fully complete. The project is fully complete.
What about OC and all that? The project has
OC obtained. OC obtained.
Then where is the problem actually? Then I'm not.
So can't sell.
Can't sell means you have to give a discount on the sale. But I mean, if you can't sell, then Swami is not the solution. Swami is to finish the project.
No,
the project is finished, then how will Swami help you?
The payments have to be made to a lot of contractors. That's the issue.
I agree, but the project is finished. Then Swami's money is not required. Right?
Our emphasis is on providing a solution to
Yeah.
the home buyer.
Completion.
So if you had told me a story where the project is completed, but land payments are due and contractor
Yeah.
payments are due, and only after those payments are due that, all the last formalities, legal formalities and OC will be obtained, and then customers can move in, then we can provide the funding.
So your building can be complete, but if people have moved in, then there is no solution. Then the only solution is sales. The solution is not money. Then your problem is that you're not able to sell it. The problem
So
is
we are not doing inventory financing, and that might be in the nature of inventory financing then.
Sorry, somebody else was asking some questions, and
In fact, I just wanted to add one more point to that.
yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was talking about CREDAI coming in. The advantage of CREDAI coming in is that we'll be able to find a solution for each and every of these issues. Like whether it is an association, whether somebody from amongst ourselves, stepping in as a co-promoter or forming an SPV, we'll be able to find solution for most of these issues. The moment CREDAI steps in, the customer confidence also will go up. That's the advantage. Everyone will come on board.
So we would gladly fund that project.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This only, I've done so many webinars. Nobody in CREDAI stepped up to say this, that we will take the responsibility. If you are taking the responsibility of finding the solution, Irfan has already confirmed, he'll be happy to provide capital for it.
We'll discuss further then.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. I mean, look, as a body, if you are saying that I will provide solution, then where is the problem? Then there's no problem.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, I'm Jayachandran. How about the projects referred to in NCLT?
So if a project is already in NCLT, a resolution professional can refer the project to us. In fact, we are going to try and reach out to more and more resolution professionals to make them aware that this funding is available. So this funding is designed for providing assistance even to projects that are going through NCLT proceedings.
Just to sort of elaborate on this, Swami Fund has got a special status from the government because it provides solution to aggrieved home buyers, right? They have a priority even in NCLT. Nobody else has it in IBC. If you take a project to IBC, senior lender, mezzanine lender, all secured creditors, unsecured creditors, they all get blended, but not Swami Fund. Swami Fund is still allowed a priority under the IBC Act, saying they will come in last and they will go out first. Right?
So for your point of view, it's sufficient to understand that the fact that the project is in NCLT is not a deterrent for us to consider it. We will more than happily look at it.
Provided NCLT refers it to Swami, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has to refer it to Swami.
Okay.
But Swami Fund is recognized by NCLT process, in IBC process.
See,
and what about the present lenders? In fact, Aziz was asking, can we use these funds to set off their debt or whatever will be in the project?
No.
Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. So that itself is remaining as a charge on the project, no, from the bank. And your money is just completion. You are utilizing only for completion. And at the end of the project, the developer who has stepped in, he has to pay off the whatever money owing to the bank, as well as later. First, you set it off, and what is the time period at which the repayment starts with Swami?
So the repayment starts only as soon as construction is completed.
As soon as completion, and
whether that takes 6 months, whether that takes 3 years, only after construction is completed that we expect the repayment to start.
Sir, very simply put, this is called LIFO financing. It's last in, first out. So the money will come in last. Whoever is put in the money, doesn't matter whether you put equity, you have borrowed money, whatever you have done, this money is the last money that will come in. And whenever the project produces money back, they will go out first. Everybody else is then settled after that, right? That is what's called LIFO. It's called last mile financing. And like I said, this is the government's own money. So obviously it has seniority.
How about the partnership company? You say got to convert that into a private.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about
Partnership firms cannot issue debentures, and they can only subscribe to debentures.
So in fact, let me just tell you what we'll do to help you here. So we cannot provide funding to partnership concerns
Or LLPs.
or LLPs. We can provide funding only after they have converted to a private limited company. Now we'll help you in two ways here. We will start processing the application even while you are going through the process of conversion, so that time is saved. Two, any cost that is incurred in the process will be added on to project cost, and that will be funded by us.
So even the cost of conversion is picked up by them. If there's any
Yes.
stamp duty instance, any taxation, anything that comes in to convert is added to the cost.
Only that project you can make it an SPV. No? Don't need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
Only
at the
the
project
project
level. At the project level only, yes.
I think the lender bank also has to be in the loop once you get into agreement that, as you said, this is a LIFO arrangement. The first in, last in, and first out, that if that's the principle followed, then the lender also gets a lending banks. They get the money, later only. So
Yes.
will they be part of this and forming an agreement in the beginning?
Yeah.
itself?
So there is an intercreditor agreement that is signed with all the other creditors,
Okay.
which recognizes the fact that this is senior lending coming in to complete. It should be allowed to complete the project, and it should be allowed to exit before there are any credit actions or any payments to other creditors in the project.
Okay.
So such an intercreditor agreement is part of our funding documents.
Mr. Hazib was asking a very pertinent question regarding the non-sale happening. In such a case, can we underwrite such a number of flats to Swami?
So it's not they are not buyers. They are only financiers. You need to find a NRI who will buy those units, not Swami.
NRIs are already.
And by the way,
because of COVID.
just as all of us are very responsible, be mindful that this is the government's money. It
I
is the
understand.
taxpayers' money. So
Yeah.
this is not something to make a sort of get them stuck on anything. And like I said, please treat them as solution capital. If you have a solution without them, by all means go ahead and do it. This is only used when you have exhausted all other options. Right?
I
You have no
think
other
that
option.
is very important. We are not competing with any source of capital in the country. Only if you don't have any recourse to capital from anywhere else in the country, come to us. Once you come to us, we promise that we will provide enough funds to complete the project. I mean, that is put as simply as that.
Yeah, somebody asked saying,
Yes,
how does
yes.
it compare with banks? It doesn't compare with banks. If you're bankable, you're getting money from the banks, please go there. If you're not getting it, then you go to Swami.
Any prospects of any coming down because of the COVID and all these situations?
No. So what happens is, even otherwise, with or without COVID, we are saying that no repayments are going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months till the project is completed. So where is the pressure? We are saying that even for the timeline for construction, we are providing an ample timeline. Right? So if construction happens, if disbursement happens, the interest clock starts ticking, and that interest is also not payable till your sales start, till your project is completed and sales happen.
And interest payment is on a yearly basis, not on quarterly and half yearly?
Not even yearly payments, sir. This is whenever the project throws up money.
Whenever able.
Whenever able.
Interest is on cumulative or a simple interest?
It is cumulative.
No, it's
But
a
it is
IRR.
paid.
It's a IRR.
It's an
It's a
IRR.
compound interest.
So
It's
it
not-
is only paid back when able. That means all the money that comes in through the buyers or through Swami Fund is only being used for construction.
Agree.
No, his
payment.
question is whether it is monthly arrest or quarterly
Yeah.
arrest or yearly arrest.
Quarterly or yearly interest, because
It's annualized.
So it is effectively 15% annualized.
Annualized. It's an
Since it's an
IRR.
IRR.
It's an IRR. It's annualized.
No, we got the point. When does it accumulate? Every quarter?
At the end of the project, whenever you repay.
No. So when it accumulates all the time. So that on an annual basis, it works out to 15%.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Babu?
Yeah.
I think we've taken more time.
Yeah, taken some little more time than what we have planned. Anyway, very good discussion and deliberations. Thank you, Irfan Ghazi. Thank you, Mr. Shobhit Agarwal, and all the participants. We look forward to associate with Swami Fund and complete the entire projects which are struck in Kerala. Thank you all for participating in this.
Can I just have a two sentences
please.
that I want to emphasize?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Right. Everything that was said on this is also available on our website, sbicapventures.com. All the details required, all your possible questions are, we've made an attempt at least to answer most of them. And that also provides a channel for, what kind of information do we need and how can you email that information to us? To what email ID you need to send the information to us? So we have a frequently asked questions section, FAQ section on our website, where all the details of the funding is given, the format of the application is given, and the email ID is given, ahf@sbicaps.com. So, anyone who is interested should refer to that.
So they're very, very transparent, very quick to respond. Like I said, they're super prepared to receive you or you receive your application. With that, thank you all of you for being there. There were over 100 members. Thank you very much for inviting us. For both Irfan and me, thank you very much, and stay safe and stay at home.
Shobhit, come to Cochin.
I will, sir. Let the flight start. Otherwise, I'll have to drive now.
Thank you very much. Thank
All
you.
right.
you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The number you have dialed currently